Hey guys, today's video is going to be about 12 New Year's resolutions for a happy, healthy bird. Now today is December 30th, 2021. We've got about 36 hours left of 2021. And so let's make 2022 the best year for our bird. Whether your bird is healthy or not, whether it's maybe plucking or has behavioral issues, there are some things that you can do naturally to support your bird's health and its disposition. When a bird feels well, both physically and emotionally, then it's going to thrive and it's going to be just the best pet for you. So let's jump into that. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Diane Burrows. I'm the founder and CEO of BirdSupplies.com, and my company really specializes in helping birds with feather plucking issues, but also with some nutritional deficits. So in terms of the feather plucking, we know that there's three important steps to support a bird that plucks. First of all is to interrupt the problem, because it turns into a compulsive habit super fast. And so the quicker you can interrupt the behavior and start using some of the long-term strategies that support birds, the better. And some of the long-term strategies that support birds are exactly what I'm going to talk about today. The strategies that support health and wellness. Things like nutritional supports and behavioral supports. So that's what we're going to talk about. So let's jump right in. I'm going to give you 12 New Year's resolutions. Maybe you could carry one out a month, and by the end of the year, things will just be totally optimized for your bird. And I would expect that you'd see some improvements in its disposition and its overall health. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is to carefully plan out your bird's meals to include a raw food diet and whole foods that will support its nutritional well-being. So that might sound like a lot of, psychobabble, if you will, or health babble, but really it's not as hard as you think. You got to dispel some of the old myths that we grew up with. I mean, I've been doing birds for, 25 years, been into them and stuff, but when I first got into birds, it was very common to feed birds maybe a seed diet, but also to people were encouraged to feed their birds table food, which if you're a healthy eater, that's pretty good. But most people, took that to mean, well, hey, if I'm having beef stroganoff tonight or pizza or hot dogs, I'll just give my bird some. Well, that's not what they mean. What our experts are telling us now is that the more we can incorporate raw, unprocessed, plant-based foods into our bird's diet, the better. I mean, think about it, for crying out loud. That's what's available in a rainforest environment or a jungle environment where our exotic pets are from. So if you need some help with that, I'd encourage you to grab some of these books off of Amazon by Carmen Badai, and also join the Avian Raw Foods group run by Dr. Jason Crean. And basically you will learn recipes and foods that are safe for your birds, how to prepare them ahead of time, so that you're not always feeling like I gotta cook for my bird today. You can prepare them ahead of time and freeze them and that sort of thing. But the whole idea is to really start incorporating a really diverse range of plant-based healthy foods, vegetables, flowers, herbs, etc., so that your bird is just receiving the optimum nutrition that its body can uptake, if you will. And that will not only change its physical health for the better, but also its emotional health, because our brain relies on what we eat, and so does our birds. So the second New Year's resolution I want to talk about is to really plan for health and safety. So I would encourage you to create a home first aid kit and hospital cage to prepare for the inevitable. I mean, accidents happen. I had one with my bird last week, and I was so thankful that I had a bird hospital cage, that I had a relationship with my avian vet, and that we could get right in, and that my birds had been eating. My bird that had the accident had been eating very well, a very nutritious diet, and so he was set up for success in the first place. But there's a few things that you're going to want to invest in, if you will. One of the first things that I did when my bird Timmy got sick last week was I got out my bird hospital cage and helped him to stabilize. So, for instance, a bird hospital cage doesn't have to be a crazy investment. This right here is what we call a Perch and Go bird carrier. It's great for small and medium birds. The bar space is only a ½ inch here, and as you can see, it's a clear environment where I can seed the bird inside, where the food dishes are accessible, but the bird doesn't have a lot of room to thrash about and injure itself. Now, the purpose behind the hospital cage is A, so you can observe the bird, B, keep them very calm and quiet so that they can get the rest and stabilize. Like, for instance, if they're bleeding, Timmy was bleeding from another bird bit him. He was bleeding, and so I didn't want him to be really super active because then he could easily bleed out. So I wanted him to stay calm and relaxed, warm, so I had a cage heater that I attached to the cage door. And I also had a bird first aid kit, whereas, we were able to quickly stop the bleeding and stabilize him and keep him warm in the hospital cage and get him to the vet, safely. Now, another thing that you'll want to invest in, and this doesn't have to be an elaborate thing either, is a bird scale. Now, this is not a bird dedicated scale. This is a kitchen scale. But, for crying out loud, a gram is a gram. It could be a gram in a cookie or a gram in a bird. But these tend to be pretty accurate. My birds just learned to stand on the surface of these, but they also have a feature where you could put a perch on here and tear it out, T-A-R-E, which means zero it out so that it's not weighing the perch, it's weighing just the bird. But when you know what your bird weighs, like last week when I took Timmy to the vet, I knew exactly what he weighed. I knew that he hadn't lost any weight, so he was still eating and such, and stuff like that. So that was helpful for my vet. But also monitoring your bird's weight on a weekly basis is super important, because losing weight and losing their appetite is one of the first signs that your bird is ill. And so, invest in a bird or a scale, a gram kitchen scale is just fine. They're running about $25 right now on Amazon. You don't have to invest a whole lot. So right now we've talked about the hospital cage. This one was probably $130 currently. The scale is about it's about $25. So we're not talking a lot of money. It's actually cheaper than a vet bill to maintain your bird's health. Then the cage heater that I had mentioned using on the Perch and Go bird carrier is actually put out by K&H Pet Products, and that just is a thermostatically controlled warmer that will help the bird use its energy to heal instead of to stay warm. So let's move on to the third strategy here, which is to make sure that your bird is getting proper exercise and an adequate amount of sleep. So it is really important for your bird to get exercise and sleep every day. Birds need 10 to 12 hours of sleep a night. Most of them are from the equator area. Most of our pet parrots are. And so their bodies are actually kind of designed, if you will, to run on this, 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime. That's what the weather is like, or that's what the photoperiods are like near the equator. And that's what our bird's body is designed to need. So ensuring that your bird gets plenty of sleep is really important. You can use your hospital cage, interestingly enough, to be a sleep cage. So that's really a multi-purpose cage if you have a bird that, say, gets night frights, or you guys stay up late at night and your bird is, subjected to television until, 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning and then getting up at dawn. If a bird has that little of sleep, it really throws their body into chaos. And I won't get into that too much in this video, but we as mental health therapists know that if your diet's good, you're exercising well, and you're getting plenty of sleep, that you're really setting yourself up for success. And interestingly enough is that that's the very same things that your bird needs. So the fourth thing I'm going to talk about is training your bird. So teaching your bird behaviors for success is really important. And in fact, the Richard M. Schuboldt Veterinarian School at UC Davis, California, talks about this as one of their really important wellness steps. They've got 6 of them outlined, and behavioral training is one of the things that they talk about a lot. So behavioral training is so important because birds learn how to behave by the role modeling that they got from their flock mates and from their mom and dad. Now, our hand-fed birds don't have that luxury. We have to teach them how to behave. And it's not as hard as you think. I mean, for crying out loud, our birds are as intelligent as, say, a kindergarten-aged child. And so they learn very quickly, and they are social animals. So when we reinforce them properly with positive reinforcement, they really just thrive with that. So one of the nicest investments that you can get for your bird is going to be clicker training for birds. It's a pretty easy to read book. It's, I don't know, 150 pages or something. Anyway, it literally teaches you and spells out how to use positive reinforcement appropriately to teach your bird manners, and it talks about the manners you should be teaching your bird. Now, you can also use clicker training, to teach your bird tricks, but the manners are what's so important. Not only manners, but also natural parrot behaviors. So if your bird hasn't learned natural parrot behaviors, it's kind of, behind the 8 ball, if you will. And so it's your job as your pet's parent to teach it these skills. And it's not seriously time consuming. I mean, my parrots, I've literally taken a behavior out of this book and taught it in an afternoon. In fact, I think I have a video where I was teaching my little green cheek Conure KIWI how to wear a bird collar as a demonstration, and I literally taught her how to wear and adjust to a bird collar within an afternoon. So it's pretty quick, and you can teach your bird very, very quickly and in a positive manner so that they know what's expected and know how to behave and know how to entertain themselves. And that's probably one of the biggest favors that you can do for your bird, is to teach it these behaviors. Now, the 5th thing that you're going to want to do is teach your bird to, like I said, get involved in what we call natural parrot activities. Things like foraging and how to preen appropriately and how to eat a rich range of vegetables and, that kind of stuff. So teach your bird, the more natural parrot behaviors it has, the less stress it's going to feel. If a bird can't act like a bird, it's going to feel not only physically stressed out, but emotionally stressed out. And so encouraging these behaviors that I just mentioned are so super important in order for their well-being. Offering them lots of enrichment activities and different things to do during the day. So while they need a lot of sleep at night, during the day they need activity and they need to be mentally stimulated because they are so smart. So encouraging natural parrot behaviors with positive training, all you really need is like a device called a clicker, which I think I've got one here, actually. Yeah, here's a clicker, and I won't click it because it makes a weird sound on video. But you just click it, and the click, you train your bird that when you click it, that's the behavior that you want to see more of. So it marks the behavior per se. This one's kind of a fancy one. It's called a click stick. It's by the Karen Pryor people. And you can also use it for target training as well as clicker training. So you need a clicker, and you need to figure out a range of treats that your bird is motivated by. So incorporating training into your, definitely weekly routine, maybe a couple more times a week, would really be helpful for your bird's health and well-being. And it's a fun habit to get into because your bird just really bonds with you when it knows what to expect from you. So let's get on to the 6th strategy, the 6th resolution for month 6, I guess you could say, is to really incorporate foraging activities into your bird's daily routine. Now, a lot of people seem to think, okay, what is foraging? Well, first of all, foraging is the act of working and figuring out how to obtain your food. So, for instance, say a cockatoo that eats grubs out of rotting wood. They need to learn where that rotting wood is and how to dig and get that grub out. And mom and dad birds teach their young how to forage. We can also give our birds foraging activities with specially designed toys or making your own toys. So it doesn't have to break the bank per se, but just giving your bird activities where it has to actually get its diet from foraging through different toys or chewing through different objects to get some food will really meet its natural instinctual needs and reduce its stress. I've got videos on that if you need to learn more about it. Now, another thing that you can do, resolution 7, is to keep up with your annual avian vet checkups. If you don't have an avian vet in your area, find an exotic vet. So, they're dispersed. Sometimes people have to drive a couple of hours to get to one if you live kind of in a faraway place or away from a large city. But getting those annual wellness checkups is so important for our birds because birds hide their illnesses, pain, and injuries. So could you imagine how sick a bird could get without you even noticing it if you didn't know that it was going downhill? One of the things you can do is to use that gram scale that I talked about earlier, but getting these wellness checks, your vet knows exactly what to look for to determine if your bird is getting some appropriate nutrients that it needs, as well as whether it's going downhill. They can pull some lab tests on an annual basis that just to make sure that everything's on the up and up. So it's much easier to treat a bird's illness in the early stages, just like in humans, than it is once it gets at I guess you could say, a late stage of the illness. So keeping up with your parrot's wellness on an annual basis and its weight on a weekly basis is super important. So the 8th tip I'm going to talk about is called removing toxic substances from your home. I took a class. I'm a nutritional specialist as a psychotherapist. One of my specialties is nutritional specialties. And I took a class that had us make a list of all the chemical substances you use in your home. Now, it was alarming for me to think that I probably encountered 100 substances probably before even breakfast. But for humans, we have a little more resiliency than our birds, especially when it comes to substances that we inhale or ingest. And so a bird is very sensitive to some chemical substances, candles, air fresheners, that stuff. Also Teflon and a lot of cleaning products and stuff are not good for our birds. And so really being cognizant of the toxic things that are in your home, synthetic items that are made out of petroleum-based products and that sort of thing is really important. Try to get into removing all of the Teflon pans, removing the candles and air fresheners, those scents that infiltrate your bird's air sacs and cause them to go into respiratory distress. And try to start using some more organic or natural cleaning products that will preserve your bird's lungs. Birds can go into respiratory distress so fast. For instance, if you were to accidentally burn the Teflon while you're cooking, it can kill a bird very quickly. So you don't want that to happen. Just remove those substances from your home and keep your birds safe. Now, as we're talking about removing some things, you really got to be careful about the bird toys that you choose. Choose safe U.S.-made bird toys as much as you can. I know that there's some really affordable ones on Amazon that are from companies that I don't even know how to pronounce the name, but I like to stick personally with the companies that are tried and true, U.S.-based companies that actually use safe woods, safe dyes, safe metal parts in particular, and safe hardware. I bought a toy off of Amazon. It looked really cute. It was really cool. It was a cool design. It was a pine box that had these 3 little boxes that you could pull out and hide foraging stuff in. And the bird just had to learn how to pull the sisal rope and pull the box out. Well, lo and behold, my bird started chewing into the wood, and I realized that there were very sharp staples holding it together, and thank God my bird didn't swallow one of them. So that is why I talk about staying with these tried and true companies like Super Bird Creation, Kitech or Featherland Bird Toys. Planet Pleasures is another great one. Bonka bird toys. There's several right here in the U.S. That really put a lot of energy into keeping their bird toys safe. But if your bird toys, even if they're put out by reputable companies, you still have to watch them to make sure that they're not safe. If there's something that your bird is kind of used up or exposed, toss it out and get a new toy. Or better yet, learn how to make some of these foraging toys out of ordinary household materials or things that you can just go over to Walmart or Target and get that will entertain your bird and teach it how to forage as well. So now we're on to step number 10, resolution number 10, which is learning to groom your bird appropriately and keeping up with its grooming. So your bird's grooming needs to be, foot care, feather care, and beak care. And so really talk with your avian vet about some of these practices, how to keep your bird's toenails at a safe, comfortable length. Watch its beak because the beak can get overgrown. And then, of course, pay attention to its feathers because feathers are sometimes the first sign other than weight loss that let us know that something's going awry. If you notice that your bird's feathers are dull, tattered looking, splintered looking, it's time to get some help. So watch that grooming. Give your bird baths with fresh water. You don't need a lot of shampoos or conditioners and that sort of thing if your bird is in healthy condition. Now there are some bird sprays, of course, that are designed to support birds that maybe have vitamin deficiencies and irritated skin, irritated feather follicles, and that sort of thing. And that's fine to use, of course. But if your bird is healthy and doing well, it needs a bath, several times a week. In the wild, these birds bathe daily. And so, just getting your birds used to it and teaching them that is one of the normal parrot behaviors is taking care of themselves and grooming themselves appropriately. Now, resolution 11 is to create a happy, healthy play area for your bird where it can spread out its wings and get some exercise. So I like to offer my birds play stands. In fact, my birds are out most of the day where they're on their play stands with different foraging activities, climbing around, all different kind of diameter of perches to exercise their foot muscles and keep them active. And like I said, with the foraging and the exercise and the socialization, it really optimizes their life. So that's tip number 11. And now we're on tip number 12, which is the last one. And that tip is simply to seek out more natural, parrot-friendly ways to support your pet's health. Research is always telling us that some of the natural ways to support your parrot's health, like they would have in the wild, are the best things that we can do. Now, I don't have any illusions that, we can make our house a jungle or a rainforest. You can't do that, of course, but you can do all kinds of things by feeding your bird naturally and offering it natural parrot behaviors and keeping up with its health and socialization and exercise needs to really support it and help it thrive. So those are my tips for a great 2022, a happy new year, and just to really optimize your bird care and your bird safety. So thanks a lot for watching. Have a happy new year. Everybody stay safe, and until my next video, we'll talk later. Bye-bye.